So, Mr. Kaku, to start this conversation, I would like to understand. I have a couple of good questions. So,
Sure.
can you please take us through your journey from serving in the United States Navy to steering the finances of, let's say, some of the world's most iconic brands that you have handled? So, what has been the most defining moments along the way that shaped you as a leader we see today?
Well, so the thesis of my journey is really about my commitment to my faith. I grew up in a Muslim household. I didn't adopt the religion because I couldn't understand the Arabic, and I didn't go to Sunday school, so I didn't really get immersed in the religion. But I was a man of faith, and what I did realize many years later was that I was a Christian, and I was praying to God at age 7, and Jesus was in my pinky toe, and he just carried me. And he basically said, just do your plan. I've got your plan designed for you. We all have a plan. If you have a higher power, if you have faith, if you believe there's something bigger than you in this universe that's helping us all, my thesis is that everything happens for a reason, and God's plan is all I'm executing. Now, to answer your question, the shift from the common denominator between the Navy and all my other roles in my professional and personal career is leadership.
Yes.
Okay. You don't need the business intelligence you can learn that. You can learn business intelligence. You can learn the details of finance. You can learn how to manage a nonprofit. You can learn how to be a father. A lot of it takes trial and error, and a lot of it takes practice. But what I did have in my cornerstone was my faith, and that I never gave up on myself, because I've been through a lot of really challenging events. Some of them I did to myself. Some of them happened to me. And regardless, I still was persistent and resilient and had God in my corner. I call God my good friend. Capital M, capital G, capital F, my good friend. Because some people don't like to hear about religion in conversations. So you have to be diplomatic about it. But that was the cornerstone, and we'll talk about that I probed your questions and I reviewed them, which are great questions. I've never been asked some of these questions. But the intersection of my faith, my passion to be the best I can be in anything I do, my autism diagnosis, which only happened in September 4th of 2025. I was 50, what was it, 56, 57 years old. And I got diagnosed autistic, but you don't get it. You are born with it. So all the things up to that point I did with an undiagnosed diagnosis. And the faith just carried me gently. There's an image in religious photos of you walking with God with two sets of footprints, and then there's all of a sudden there's one set of footprints. And the question that we ask as humans who are very skeptical is, why did God leave me? Because now there's only one set of footprints in the sand. And he didn't leave me, he carried me. So the two sets of footsteps could turn into one set of footsteps because God carries us when we need it. All of us. I'm no different than you or anybody else. I rely on my faith, and the trajectory was just that I was given these opportunities. I was given the opportunities that he gave me, and I just did the best I could with them. And sometimes they didn't end well. My undiagnosed diagnosis of autism made it very challenging, and made the career paths very staggered and very jagged.
Okay.
But
Mr. Aashik,
yeah, so it's
my
go ahead.
question. What has been some of the most challenging phase? I just talk about challenges that uh, some of them you have been part, some of them were created by you. So, what has been the toughest phase in your life as a professional? And how did you blend your faith and passion to make the best of it?
So the most challenging opportunity, I never really call them failures. I call them opportunities because my mind hears opportunity and doesn't hear failure. He hears opportunity and it's a different message, right? It's the same word used a different way. It's the same meaning. And the biggest challenge has been, God, why am I in this space? Why did this happen to me? Why is this happening now? And when you reset that by saying that everything happens for you in your journey, in all of our journeys, everything happens for you. Life happens for you. Life is not easy. The difference in how a person's life is developed is how they deal with the most challenging phases of their life. And if you deal it with okay, this is what I've been given, I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to rely on my faith and rely on my passion and rely on my perseverance to get through it. And when God sees that you've done that and you are ready for more, He will give you more.
True, completely agree. So, you talked about learnings and lessons. So, throughout your career, working across spirits, luxury goods, non-profits, and now you run your own advisory firm. Each of them has a completely different world. So, how do you carry the lessons of one industry into the next? And which of these transitions challenge you the most?
So the most challenging is right in front of me because I don't know what tomorrow brings. I think what you learn is you learn a couple of tenets. Being autistic made me have to listen because didn't feel confident to speak. I was a shy, stuttering kid with a lisp that was bullied and whatever, but it gave me the chance to just listen and watch how people move and watch how people operate. And all these listenings have been stored in I call them access panels. You know, if you have a drop ceiling of of your basement and you want to get to the attic or the real ceiling, you go through an access panel. It's like a it's like a push of a and all my brain is all this access panels of all this information that's been saved and stored for when I needed it. And my biggest talent, the biggest attribute is listening. If we were just to listen more than we speak, there's a statistic says if you should listen 80% of the time and speak 20% of the time. And if we just listened more, for me, I absorbed and I learned. I learned how business operated. I learned about companies like Coca-Cola, Chick-fil-A, Costco, McDonald's, how they operate. And all those listening moments were locked down in these access panels. And when I needed them, I just lifted them. I just lifted them and I just said, okay, this is what we need to do. And it all goes back to being a servant of people. The most beautiful deliverable we can do as humans is service to others. It doesn't cost you anything. It's not hard to do, but you get so much more in return for what you give out.
Wonderful. And having served across different organizations, cultures, and with different mindset of peoples, how has your definition of growth evolved over these years? What do you think real growth is?
Real growth is giving more than you're getting. Real growth is directly proportional to how much you give out versus how much you take in. And it's as easy as opening the door for someone. I work in business. It's an incredible company. And the supermarket space is the confluence of all walks of life. You have young adults, you have newborns, you have teens, you have elderly, all coming to eat and shop for their eats. And when I was bagging groceries, which I still do, you have 3 minutes with every customer while I'm bagging my groceries for that customer. And you get 3 minutes to talk to them, to tell them a joke, to listen to what they have to say. Because for some of those folks, Mr. Vipin, they may not talk to anybody the rest of the day. They may not, they may go home, it's a solitude, or they may have something behind their eyeballs that they're not willing to share or they don't feel comfortable sharing. So the point of that is listening is so important, and add the absolute value of how much you give out to others versus what you take in is what's going to grow your toolbox and fill your cup so you can feed others.
And Mr. Ashik, in your current role, what do you think is the best? How does the daily functions look like? And what do you think is the best part of your current role?
So I'll give you an example for today, just because it's the last thing I remember. I wake up at 4:30 a.m. every morning. This morning was 5:30, and I pray to God. I pray for God. I say, God, I hope you had a great night. I'm sure you did miracles across the universe, but I'm praying for you because who else is praying for you? But we're always praying to God. So I prayed to God, prayed for God, and then I had to get some medical work done, traditional medical work. And then I went to a Bible study, and I met a man who just needed to talk. We went to a cigar lounge, had coffee, and just chatted about life. From there, I went to I got my hair cut. I got ready for today. And then I went to I would teach children that are autistic. So I have a client that I teach who's 7 years old and who's autistic. So I spent 3 hours with him. Then I gave a speech about my recovery, and then I'm here. And in that journey, Mr. Vipin, what's important is when I was at the VA, I hear God say, who are you looking for today? Open your eyeballs, open your ears. And I met a beautiful human. We just chatted about life for 45 minutes while we were waiting for the lab to open. And I just chatted with people. And every day I'm meeting people like that. It feels like accident, but it's intentional. So it's not the activities that take place, but it's the intersections of the activities and what God has planned for me. And all of us. It's not just me. It's just listening and where am I going to sit? I looked in the waiting room of 75 people and I said, where am I going to, oh, I'm supposed to sit here. And I just sat there. And then this young lady sat next to me and we chatted for 45 minutes. And that happens a lot.
So you emphasize a lot on one interpersonal attribute, that is listening. So how has being a good listener helped you personally, and what has been? Would you like to share some of the instances where
Sure.
listening as an attribute has helped you a lot as a leader?
Sure. So I will tell you, I had to take a ride from Fort Worth to McKinney, and my fiance took my car keys by accident. And I had to make an appointment that I could not miss. So I got in an Uber, and it was expensive. It was over $100, and we were in the car for an hour and 20 minutes. And I just chatted with the Uber driver. I had to take an AA meeting on the call. I had to take a support meeting on the call during the car ride, and we just chatted. And he heard my support group meeting, and he heard what I was going through for the day. And he, at the end of that ride, he said, "This is the best ride I've ever taken. Thank you. This is the best." And then from that, I had another ride like that. So in the course of one day, I met 4 different people and connected with them very organically, very naturally, very, if I'm in an Uber ride for 10 minutes, you'll know my story. And I don't tell it to talk about me. I tell it to give them the allowance, the access, the permission to tell their story. Because so much of us have stories that we feel we can't tell. And we have to be able to feel safe. Because that's the only way we're going to share growth and service and give back. And that happens so many times in different forms and fashion, but it happens.
True. And Mr. Ashik, you have spent nearly 2 decades as an electronic technician in the US Navy before eventually becoming the CFO of a luxury giant like LVMH. So, what I feel that most people would not draw a straight line between these 2 points. How do you draw that line?
So
And
I was only in the Navy for 2 years, and I was a part of it. I was a regional finance director, CFO for LVMH, right? So it was not as big as you're making it, but it was big. It was just the opportunity. You know, my CFO, when I was an analyst at LVMH, came to me one day and said, "Why do you wear suspenders and cufflinks to work every day? You're just an analyst." And he's French, right? So the French are very forward and very direct, and that's the way they speak. And I very calmly said, "Because I want your job." And that's how I would dress it. I'm dressing for your job. And then 4 years later, he gave me his role in Texas. It's a regional role, but it's the same work he's doing, and I'm working for him. And it's not about ego or being very assertive. It's being confident and asking big from God and asking, "This is what I want to do," and He delivers.
okay. And back in 2019, you left the structured world of corporate finance to before the pandemic gutted its revenue. So, what was the most honest conversation you had with yourself before accepting that role? And
So
Mr.
when I yeah,
You underestimate how different leading with a mission rather than margin would feel?
so great question. I was My role was eliminated at LVMH in September of 2018. And in March of 2019, I said, I couldn't find anything that I found satisfying. So I said, I've got to do something with my time. So I volunteered. I'll be your financial consultant. No pay, just volunteer. And that led to doing work within that space, taking all the strategy I've learned in the big companies and putting it into this little engine that could. I believed in the mission. I believed in the service. I became part of their board and eventually became their CEO. And it wasn't about money or dollars or it was passion and it was service. It was like you have to sit here and learn how to give back without return because the payoff will be down the line. You're on mute, my friend.
Okay, I'm sorry. So you talked about the learnings that you carried from your previous companies. What are the three biggest learnings that have constantly helping you?
I think the three biggest learnings are: one, never give up on yourself; two, do the best you can in whatever role you're given; and three, help people develop their toolbox. Give back to people, extend yourself so you can transfer the knowledge you've learned that someone else has given to you to other people. Because if you do that, you get loyalty, you get people that want to work for you, you get people who want to support you, and more importantly, you make your job easier because you're now delegating roles and responsibilities downstream.
And Mr. Ashik, looking at the pace at which AI, automation, and other technologies are evolving, so which technology do you believe will be a true game changer for your industry? And how are you preparing yourself and your team for that shift?
So my team is lean. Right now it's a team of two. So be mindful that it's really it's going to be big one day, but I'm watching AI. It's almost like when you watch new technology, you want it to mature before you invest in that technology. And very recently, I started to tap into AI because as an autistic man, we have to conserve the energy we use every day. Autism for me is a sensory management program. And the term they use in the autistic community is spoons. We get a certain number of spoons every day, and represents our energy that we can expend and deplete. But we have to be careful not to overextend ourselves because we don't do well in that space. Now, as a neurodynamic human, you have to leverage that asset carefully, and you have to spend that asset carefully. AI will make things efficient for me to do better work and more efficiently. And only now am I starting to tap into where can I touch AI and use AI to access people easier, to provide content easier, to do things with more efficiency so that I'm not expending too many spoons in my journey.
Wonderful. And Mr. Ashik, you earlier mentioned that you have become what you are today, all just by listening to others and silently observing other actions or access points. So, reflecting on your initial years, what were some mistakes that you believe could have been avoided and how that would have changed your trajectory?
So this is an interesting question because for me, I would change nothing because this is my design plan and this is God's driving, right? This is his bus. I'm just a passenger. But I never really led well at the beginning of my leadership opportunities. When I was in the Navy, we had just deployed out to the Gulf, and I look like the people that my teammates, my fellow military brother and sister were fighting, right? I looked the part that they were fighting. And so as being a section leader of those groups, it made it very difficult and very confusing in that relationship. And I didn't do a very good job leading. I led from the front as opposed to from the back. I'm a servant leader today, but I was not a servant leader when I first started. There's an image of pack of wolves that are going down in a forest, and the leader of the pack is in the back, making sure that nobody gets wayward and nobody loses track, and he or she is leading from the back. And that's how I lead today. But I used to lead from the front. And then I got led by a leader from the front, and it hurt. He would tackle you, he would be very aggressive to get his projects done at your expense. And then when that project would go away, you get a new project, and he's picking up bodies because we've been exhausted from the way he led us. So that was a very interesting learning curve for me to how to lead properly. And sometimes it takes more time and patience and resilience but it pays off in dividends when you get it right.
And Mr. Ashik, I was having a conversation with another leader the other day. So he had a very interesting point in that conversation that a leader who is serious about his work and growth is likely to be a bit aggressive. So, how agree do you with this statement? And what does real leadership looks like to you?
Look, the reality is that our tendencies come out when things are most stressful. And it's at that point when good leaders sometimes become very assertive and very insecure in their leadership, and so they start to show their teeth and they start to be aggressive with their teams, and they start to get a little bit onery and get little bit aggressive. And we all do that. We're humans. We have these tendencies that we're used to. But at the end of the day, if I can continue to have the patience and resilience and lead with grace and with a very forward thinking, how am I going to help my team the most by leading without those aggressive traits? But it's hard. We're all geared to get my tendency is to be aggressive and to be be very assertive, and I have to be very mindful in a moment of truth, I call it, when you're up against the wall, can you maintain that discipline of leading from the back?
Okay. And for the coming 5 years, what opportunities excites you the most? And what sort of new skills do you think you would have to develop to make a virtue out of those opportunities?
So getting diagnosed autistic has been incredibly the turning point of my life. In the 45 days after September 4th, I did a PhD to understand my tendencies as an autistic human. And I'm going to lift those and gravitate towards those that are, there are so many people that are marginalized in where they sit today, between veterans, people of that have mental health opportunities, people of first immigrants of our background, of any background, that just don't get the seat at the table. And I'm all that. And my role is to lead people so they get the seat at the table to optimize their capabilities and fulfill their dreams. And it is only getting started. I mean, I will tell you, since April 1st, so many things have happened in a good way. I told you when we were vetting each other, I looked at this type of opportunity 6 or 7 times from other companies. And you guys are the one, because this is the time is now. And you guys called me up and said, let's do this. And it's time.
Okay, wonderful. And Mr. Ashik, before I move towards my last question, I have got another one. Looking back at everything, the Navy, Diago, Heineken, LVMH, the non-profit, and the everlasting mentor, what is that one belief about money, leadership, or life that has remained completely unchanged, no matter the title on your door?
So it's the three that we spoke about earlier. Do the best you can, be the best member of the autism community in the universe. Be the best that I can be. I don't worry about financial return. That will come. That will come. It's about being authentic with your purpose and understanding your assignment, understanding what you're supposed to be doing on this planet to help others. And and make sure that you are only as strong as your weakest link on your team. And so you have to be the guy that lifts that person, like God lifted me, to carry that person to make them stronger. And it's just an incredible evolution of what's happening throughout all these experiences you alluded to.
And apart from God's consistent light over you and helping hand, who has been the most influential mentor in your journey? And how do you carry forward their learnings when preparing the next line of leaders?
So I you know you it says you say they say if you want to be someone, if you want to be a CEO, if you want to be a great cook, a great engineer, find the best engineer and cook and do what they did. And in my world, my leader, my mentor is God, but there are people that I listen to that have a similar mindset and a bigger platform that I listen to on a daily basis into how they talk about their journey. Denzel Washington is a great motivational speaker in what he's done. Ed Milet is a great motivational speaker in what he's done. Tony Robbins is great. I will be the Tony Robbins of those that are marginalized today. I will help those that don't have a seat at the table. And the mentors I speak of are big mentors. You know, I don't choose small because I don't want to be small. I choose big because I want to align with big. People say you're as good as the five people around you. And I choose big. And first and foremost, my mentor is God. And in my mind, that's nobody bigger than that. And I just want to be his ambassador in everything I do. You're on mute, my friend.
So this question was never part of this conversation, but I just come up with this. Most people easily misunderstood or mix faith and hard work. They believe that if God has to help you, just keep seated and you'll get whatever He is planned for you. What's your take on this statement? Since you yourself said you pray to gods and you talked about faith. So, what's your take on this statement?
So God will give you as much as you can handle. And if you decide you want to sit at the couch and just believe in God, that's your prerogative, that's your choice. But my belief is give whatever assignment you're given from God, do the best at that assignment. And when he sees you do that, he will give you more. And it's not about working hard to work hard. My day consists of shifts of working hard, exercising, reading books, eating properly, resting, being in solitude, all these components that add to my full day. And God wants you to do that, in my opinion. And I don't take it for granted what he's given me as my assignment. I take it responsibly as if it's my own company. And it is. I have a saying that says, I am the CEO of my own life. We are all the CEO of our own lives. And God is our chairman of the board. And as a CEO of my own life, it's for me to do what I want to do with my life, whatever that might look like. I happen to love to put passion behind everything I'm invested in. And that's a gift I've been given. It's not something that I invented. I've been given that gift. And I don't take that for granted. It's a gift that I cherish and I nurture and I cultivate.
Okay. All right, Mr. Ashik, then that would be it from my end to the conversation. Do you think we should add anything else that could enhance the storyline?
So I think that we have to understand I don't do this at all for an ego. I don't have an ego. I do this to the guy that's sitting down there in a really dark place today. And maybe he'll hear something from this conversation. And I'm speaking to him or her right now. And I'm saying, whatever you feel your biggest challenge is in front of you, you're right. It is a challenge. No one's going to discount the challenge that you feel. However, if you can grasp onto a higher power of any kind, the universe, program, the light post, anything, to say, I have this to help me, go get the help and deliver against the help and know that you're not forgotten. You're part of a plan and you will be given that opportunity when the time is right. And don't give up on yourself. You're loved. You are cherished. You are a man of the universe. You are a man of faith, a woman of faith. And don't give up on yourself because things will turn around. What you do today will reap down the line. And if you do the right thing and you do the best you can, you're having a great day. Don't give up on yourself. Because I was in your shoes and worse. And if it could happen for me, it could happen for anybody.
Correct.
And life happens for us, not to us. It happens for us. And I wish that person peace and solace and grace and know that you're loved.
Beautiful. And Mr. Ashik, one very last concluding question that is from my end that I usually ask for any speaker that had the conversation. Based on your interaction you had with me and we exchanged some sort of thoughts, what is one piece of advice that you would like to give to me?
I think you guys do a great job of finding, again, from what I know of what you shared with me about your company and you as a person, the questions you ask are very thought provoking and very provocative. And you want to push people to that emotional level where they feel safe to tell their story. You are a sounding board and you have a scale that our story will get out faster than if I told it by myself.
Hmm.
And don't take that for granted, but make sure you are you're pushing the envelope to emotion. I didn't get emotional today, but I could have. Your questions have to be pushing the envelope to make that person on the other side of your questions feel empowered to tell their story. And you did a great job today. I thought you guys did a great platform. I will carry your platform throughout my social media because you're the one. I'm not going to shop this around. I've done this part of this task of my journey. I've invested in myself for this task, and we're gonna make people. I'm hoping this will be um the best video you do up to this point until the next one gets better.
Absolutely. I
And
would like to tell you this at my end. This is perhaps the most honest conversation I ever had with any
good.
leader. We did talk about business, but most importantly, we talk about something that most business leaders lack: the empathy, the power of faith, and the power and the urgency to giving back to its people where it all gets started. So, honestly, this has been the most honest conversation that I ever had. And thank you so
Well, I'm
much
glad to hear that.
for your time.
Thank you very much for taking the time tonight or today. I don't know where you guys are in India. So what is it, 9 hours ahead?
Yes, actually, it is 8:30, 9 a.m.
Okay, 9 a.m. So I'm gonna get a good night's sleep, and you're just starting your day. So make it the best day you've had so far.
And have a wonderful day ahead and a good night, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Bye bye.
You too, sir. Bye bye.